Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked down at the blue planet below. Earth. The Empire had studied this world for 3 standard cycles. They had watched the primitive creatures called humans go about their daily lives. They had seen their simple cities and their basic technology. The High Council had laughed when they reviewed the data. These beings have no natural weapons, the scientists had reported. No claws, no fangs, no venom, no armored skin. They are soft and weak. Their young take years to mature. They cannot run fast. They cannot fly. They have no telepathy. Conquering them will take less than 1 rotation of their moon. Had agreed with this assessment. His species had conquered over 40 worlds. They had defeated creatures with razor-sharp teeth and beings made of living crystal. Humans seemed like the easiest target in the galaxy. Their planet was rich with water and minerals. It would make a perfect colony world. The invasion began on what humans called a Tuesday morning. Drop ships descended through the atmosphere over 12 major cities simultaneously. The plan was simple and proven. Destroy the communication centers first. Eliminate the military installations second. Round up the survivors third. It had worked perfectly on every other world. The first sign that something was different came within the first hour. A patrol unit had cornered a group of humans in one of their urban areas. The humans were supposed to surrender. Every other species did when faced with superior firepower. Instead, a young female human picked up a metal pipe and charged directly at the patrol leader. She was shot twice before she fell, but not before she had cracked open the skull of one soldier. The patrol leader reported this incident as an anomaly. It was not. Across the planet, humans refused to follow the expected pattern. They did not freeze in fear. They did not beg for mercy. They did not quietly submit. Instead, they fought back with whatever they could find. Kitchen knives, baseball bats, broken bottles, garden tools. Vehicles became weapons. Buildings became fortresses. Every street corner became a battlefield. General landed with the second wave of troops 3 days into the invasion. He was shocked by what he found. His forces had taken heavy casualties, not from advanced weapons, but from traps made of wire and explosives that humans created in their garages. Not from military soldiers, but from ordinary citizens who refused to stop fighting. "We killed 100 of them yesterday," one of his commanders reported. "But they killed 30 of ours, and today more of them appeared. They came from the surrounding areas. They walked for days without rest to join the fight. How is this possible?" Did not have an answer. He ordered more troops to the surface. They learned their first terrible lesson about humans during a pursuit mission in a region called Africa. A squad of hunters had been chasing a small group of human resistance fighters. They were faster. Their technology was superior. They should have caught the humans within the first hour. But the humans did not stop running. They ran through the hottest part of the day when the soldiers had to rest or risk overheating. They ran through the night without sleep. They ran for 3 days straight, stopping only to drink water and eat small amounts of food. One by one, the hunters collapsed from exhaustion. Their bodies were not designed for such extended pursuit. The last hunter alive sent a message back to command before the humans turned around and killed him with sharpened sticks. The message was simple. They do not stop. Why do they not stop? Scientists back on the began to study human biology more carefully. What they discovered terrified them. Humans were not weak. They were something far more dangerous. They were persistence predators. Their bodies were designed to chase prey until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They could regulate their body temperature through sweating, something almost no other species could do. They could run for days. They could survive injuries that would kill most beings. But the physical abilities were only part of the picture. Dr. the Chief presented his findings to the High Council with trembling hands. "These creatures produce a chemical called adrenaline," he explained. "When they are frightened or angry, this chemical floods their system. It makes them faster, stronger. It blocks pain. A human in this state can continue fighting even with injuries that should be fatal. We have recorded instances of humans being shot multiple times and still advancing. We have seen them lift objects twice their body weight to save others. Their fear makes them more dangerous, not less. The council members exchanged worried looks. There is more, Doctor continued. Humans are pack hunters. They form bonds not just with their own kind but with other species. They have domesticated wolves to fight beside them. They ride on the backs of large hoofed beasts. They have even trained birds to deliver messages and attack enemies. No other species in our records has shown this ability to form cross-species alliances. Commander watched the war unfold from orbit with growing horror. The humans had no central command structure that could be destroyed. When one leader fell, another immediately took their place. They communicated through methods that seemed primitive but proved impossible to fully block. Written messages, signal fires, runners who memorized information. They were adapting faster than his forces could respond. Worse, the humans were learning from their enemies. Within weeks, they had figured out how to use captured weapons. Within a month, they had learned to hack into basic communication systems. By the third month, they had captured a drop ship and were studying its technology. They took everything apart and put it back together. They learned what each component did. Then they built their own versions using whatever materials they could find. One human saying began to circulate among the resistance fighters, heard it translated many times: improvise, adapt, overcome. It seemed to be their battle philosophy. The siege of the city called Tokyo showed what humans were truly capable of. They had surrounded the city with overwhelming force. They demanded surrender. The humans refused. The siege lasted for 4 months. They cut off food and water. They expected the humans to weaken and give up. Instead, the humans rationed what they had. They grew food on rooftops. They collected rainwater. They hunted rats and pigeons. They ate things that would poison most species. When they finally breached the walls, they found not a starving population begging for mercy, but an army of determined fighters who had used the siege time to prepare thousands of traps and ambushes. They lost 2,000 soldiers in a single day. The humans lost 5,000 civilians, but they held the city. General requested a meeting with the human leadership. He could not understand their strategy. By all logical calculations, they should have surrendered long ago. The casualties they were suffering were unsustainable. Their resources were depleted. Victory was mathematically impossible for them. A human general named Sarah agreed to meet him under a flag of truce. "Why do you continue to fight?" asked her. "You cannot win. Your losses are catastrophic. Would it not be better to surrender and preserve what remains of your people?" General looked at him with eyes that held no fear. "You do not understand us," she said. "We are not fighting because we think we can win. We are fighting because we would rather die on our feet than live on our knees. Every one of us who falls buys time for others to escape, to hide, to grow stronger. You may kill us all, but you will pay such a price that no other invader will ever consider attacking Earth again." Felt something he had never felt before when facing an enemy. It took him a moment to recognize it as fear. The war continued for another year. They threw everything they had at Earth. They deployed their most advanced weapons. They brought in reinforcements from across their empire. They used tactics that had brought entire star systems to their knees. But humans would not break. They hid in mountains and jungles that they knew intimately. They launched attacks at night when eyes could not see well. They turned their own planet against the invaders, using weather patterns and terrain features that they had studied for thousands of years. They poisoned water sources that they knew they would use. They set fires that spread through supply lines. They used diseases that humans could survive but could not. Every soldier lived in constant fear. They knew that any shadow could hide a human waiting with a knife. Any building could contain an explosive trap. Any prisoner could be carrying a hidden weapon, ready to strike at the first opportunity. Humans did not give up. Humans did not stop. Humans kept coming no matter how many fell. The turning point came when a human resistance group managed to capture Commander himself during a surface inspection. They did not kill him. That surprised him more than anything. Instead, they held him prisoner for 3 weeks. They fed him. They treated his wounds. They showed him their families and their homes. They showed him the graves of their fallen loved ones. They made him understand what the invasion had cost them. Then they released him with a message. "Go home," the message said. "Tell your people what you learned here. Tell them that Earth is not worth the price. Tell them that humans will fight to the last breath, to the last drop of blood, to the last standing person. Tell them that we do not know how to quit. Tell them that this is why we are apex predators, not because we are the strongest or the fastest or the most advanced, but because we simply refuse to stop." Commander returned to his ship with a changed perspective. He reviewed the casualty figures. The Empire had lost more soldiers on Earth than in the last 10 conquests combined. Their fleet was damaged. Their resources were depleted. And despite everything, humans still controlled most of their planet. He made his report to the High Council. "Earth is not worth conquering," he told them. "The cost is too high. These humans are not prey. They are predators. They were designed by their world to survive and overcome any challenge. They will not stop fighting until every single one of them is dead, and even then their children will continue the fight. I recommend full withdrawal and a permanent quarantine of this system." The High Council agreed. The fleet left Earth orbit on a day that humans would forever celebrate. They watched the alien ships jump into hyperspace and disappear into the stars. They had won, not through superior technology or numbers, but through pure stubborn determination. News of Earth's successful resistance spread through the galaxy. Other species began to whisper about the Death World and its terrifying inhabitants. The soft creatures with no claws and no fangs. The beings who ran until their prey collapsed. The hunters who turned everything into a weapon. The pack animals who would die for each other without hesitation. Earth was declared a protected quarantine zone. No alien species would approach it for generations. And in cities and villages across the planet, humans rebuilt their world. They buried their dead with honor. They told stories of courage and sacrifice. They made sure that future generations would remember the invasion and the lessons it taught. The galaxy had learned an important truth. Humans were not weak because they lacked natural weapons. Humans were dangerous precisely because they had evolved without them. They had learned to use their minds, their tools, and their unbreakable will to overcome any obstacle. That was why they were apex predators. And that was why the stars would learn to fear them.